was reading Cowboy Mouth with Sam Shepard, and I realized that takes a lot of talent. It's three. It's got Slim and Cavala, whatever the hell you say, Cavell, and then you got Lobster. But they play drums in that. They sing. They do all this stuff. I mean, it's crazy. But I was also thinking about doing a movie about Patti Smith and Sam Shepard. As Sam Shepard's dead, passed away. Hawk was talking about him the other day on YouTube, some kind of interview. The thing about Patti Smith, though, is that my rumor in the film that I'm thinking about maybe writing if I ever get around to get some, those biographies are usually all bullshit anyway. It's like Brando's biography is like right here, and I got Shepard's right there. This one's really old. I read it. I read that one when I was at the studios when Blake was my roommate before Blake took off. I took off that next year, right after 9/11. But I saw Cowboy Mouth being done in New York. I saw it done. I saw it done on Bleecker Street. They did the whole thing. I was reading it right here. That's the bio I read. This one. This is actually how ripped up it was when I took it to New York from LA. It's Don Shuey. And Blake was reading about Chuck Yeager at the time. Everyone fucking had this thing about Shepard. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. It was this one right here. It's Fool for Love and Other Plays. I've got like several collections of them. Um, but Cowboy Mouth is in there. Kind of see it. See it? Let me move this down a little bit. Yeah, you see it right there in the center. It's interesting about Shepard is because I did action at UNT. I saw Cowboy Mouth when I was with someone's thesis. I think the guy's name was Jesse that did it, and then some other chick was with him that played Cavell or whatever her name is. Cavell. However it's pronounced, I'm pronouncing it wrong. But Cavell and Slim and the Lobsterman. I did action. Action's in here too. I worked really hard on that, and I remember right before I directed it, so I wasn't in it, but Ray was in it. Ray Wartle, I think. Christina, she's in Brooklyn now. Christina was in it, and I had to get a replacement for the other one, and then I had this crazy guy that was who's also kind of a director. He played there's right after Cowboy Mouth. There's Shooter, Jeep, Liza, and Lupe. Shooter, I think he played Jeep. The one that throws and breaks the chair. And there's the fish involved and stuff. I had to climb up this huge thing because I hung these lamps. It was this old 1970s lamp from the center of this black box theater, and I had to crawl up. I always call it the catwalk, but it's where the top of where all the lights hang. I had to crawl up. It was really high. And my director, Marjorie Hayes, she had worked with the Grotowski. She was saying, Cole, use words, because I would climb up the ladder and all this stuff, and I was in action. I just keep to myself kind of thing. And I was in action while I was setting up this set. And I had this really cool program that talked about LSD, and where I thought, I guess I didn't really talk about the punk rock aspect of it, because Patti Smith, of course, was in Cowboy Mouth, but in action, I wasn't really focusing action, or I wasn't at the time when I was directing, I wasn't connecting action to really the punk rock movement per se. It was more maybe like a lost generation kind of thing because it was about the loss of community. So what I thought action was about was a loss of community, but Sam Shepard has been said, or people have said that Sam Shepard said that action was actually about abandonment, and I couldn't see a connection on what they're talking about abandonment because they're together, but they're all kind of like independent. And there's a old Christmas tree that's supposed to be in it and things like that. So I thought it was about maybe like a loss of community or being maybe abandoned from community or being in your own community or lost in a loss of community kind of thing. It's also kind of apocalyptic in a way too. You got to read it. It's one of Sam Shepard's really good plays. But we had to get a fish. We had to get all this stuff at the last minute. And one of the older actors there that was a director, he was kind of this guy. He kind of talked on a lisp a little bit, and it was like a real lisp, it wasn't a slight lisp, but it was like a kind of a real one. He had something with his teeth and stuff. He played Jeep. He did a very, very good job. And one of the costume ladies there said it was one of the best productions that she had seen. It is coming out of students and stuff. Marjorie, I think Marjorie ended up liking it, and I used the Pixies at the end. So I did bring in a little bit of punk rock for the final song. I used "Where's My Mind" right before I went out and saw Fight Club. So I used the Pixies' "Where's My Mind" at the very end, and I used a bell. I had a bell in it, so I sat up there, kind of doing the same thing Shepard talked about. It was like an improv kind of thing. It was like running a rock and roll show. So I had this little bell that I would ring during certain times, and I'd shine a flashlight on some of the actors. And then one Jeep actually went underneath the bleachers and stuff. And we worked really hard. We had this little spots of lights in a black stage. So we used these spotlights. We had a lamp. So at the end, the guy pulled this lamp, and the light went dark and everything. And I used a few lamps, and we actually had a chair. We broke a chair on stage. We had this recliner chair that the guy sent. It was like an old puffy chair, and it was like different little areas. It started off with them all in these little areas doing activity or their own action, and then I brought in, the dialogue finally, came out of the actors and stuff, and then the play began, and I was really, really proud of it. I had these little flyers, and I remember right before it opened, someone said, "Hey, did you get any flyers or anything?" I went, "Oh crap," and they were already getting ready to come in, and I had some music. I don't remember what kind of music I had playing at the beginning. So I jumped in my car and I sped like James Dean across campus to go to my dorm and pick up these flyers. And I came all the way back and hand them all out. I remember by the end of the play, I didn't know what people thought. They clapped and everything. All those flyers were left on the bleachers. Like no one, I don't know if a few people took the flyers, but I said something to Sam Shepard. The thing is, Sam Shepard at the time was in Dallas. He had shown up with Kathy Bates for a play that they did about Samuel Dashett. And I decided to go. And I got a hold of my mom. I was like, "Mom, can you get these tickets for me? Sam Shepard is coming in town, and Kathy Bates is going to be there." And so my friend Rob, who's a playwright out in Dallas, he went. I didn't see him there, though, but he was there. And he told me about it or something, and so I showed up, and lo and behold, the thing is I had a letter that I wrote to Shepard. I was going to invite him to action, to go to University of North Texas, and he didn't show up. He didn't show up to the premiere in Dallas. He had a family emergency. I know his dad. I don't remember when his dad died, but I know that there was some kind of family emergency that happened, and he couldn't go to the premiere. But Kathy Bates was there, and I had that letter. It was basically, the letter was, I don't even know what that letter is, but it was like "Dear Sam Shepard" or whatever. Blah blah this. I've admired your work as a playwright, and blah 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 this, and I may have said something to him about an actor or director or something, and just an admiration, a letter of, like love, a letter of saying, thank you. It was a thank you letter. But then in the end, I said, "Hey, listen, I'm doing action at the University of North Texas. Would you, come by and see it and talk to the actors, or talk, can I give this to you?" It was like kind of thing, would you? It was an invitation also to the play, and he couldn't show up then. But anyway, I thought it'd be cool if it was always a little fantasy in my mind, like if he did show up. But unfortunately, he passed away. So He was a pretty important playwright. I just read most of Cowboy Mouth, and I was thinking, man, this thing is amazingly entertaining. With the dead crow on the ground and the lobster man comes in and all this stuff. I mean, it's like it's not like a Saturday Night Live skit, but it's like all this stuff going on. It's like the essence of rock and roll, and punk rock. The Cowboy Mouth is like Cowboy Mouth in a way is taking a moment of punk rock and analyzing it, but it's also putting it out on stage and saying, this is what this person thinks of being a rock and roll star, and this is what this person thinks of telling you to screw it.